The slave market in import smelled like desperation and rain. Not the clean rain that washed cities. The kind that mixed with unwashed bodies and old blood and made everything worse. The kind that turned
I
dirt
have
into
to keep
mud and
moving.
mud into a permanent stain on your conscience. Cyrus Aldrich had walked past 6 slave markets in 4 months without stopping. Told himself it was because spice merchants didn't have time for moral complications. Told himself that saffron prices were highest in spring and northern buyers paid triple for southern quality. Told himself whatever helped him sleep in strange inn rooms where the walls were thin enough to hear other people's nightmares. But this market was different. Not because it was cleaner, not because the people running it pretended to care about human dignity. It was different because Cyrus made the mistake of actually looking. She stood in the punishment cage, the one they reserved for slaves who still had fight left in them. The ones who reminded buyers that property shouldn't be capable of independent thought. The orc woman stood nearly 7 feet tall, even with her shoulders curved inward. Emerald skin marked with scars that formed a map of survival. Her black hair hung in thick ropes down her back, some parts braided with what looked like bone beads. Her face carried the sharp angles of her people, strong and uncompromising, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with human standards. But it was her eyes that stopped Cyrus mid-stride. Most slaves learned quickly how to make their eyes empty, safe, a vacant expression that let buyers project whatever fantasy they needed to justify the purchase. Self-defense through erasure. This orc woman's eyes were different. They weren't empty. They weren't broken. They burned with something more dangerous than hope or rage. They burned with memory. Memory of who she'd been before chains, before cages. Before humans decided her green skin made her less than a person. Interested in that one, the voice belonged to Marcus Venn, the merchant who owned this particular enterprise. He was a rotund man with the kind of smile that made you instinctively check your coin purse, currently cleaning his fingernails with a knife that looked far too sharp for such a mundane task. "What's her story?" Cyrus heard himself ask. This was a mistake. He knew it was a mistake the same way you know fire burns. But knowing doesn't always stop you from touching. Venn shrugged with practiced indifference. Orc War Party hit a mining settlement 7 years back. She got separated from her unit. Humans caught her during the chaos. Been through 5 owners since then. He ticked them off on his fingers like he was counting inventory. First owner tried to make her fight in arena pits. Figured a big orc woman would bring in coin. She won 8 matches straight, then refused to fight. Sat in the arena dirt and wouldn't move no matter what they did to her. Venn examined his knife blade. Second owner thought he could domesticate her. The way he said the word made Cyrus's stomach turn. She broke his jaw in 4 places. Would have killed him if guards hadn't intervened. Third owner wanted field labor. She worked fine for 3 months. Then one day she just stopped. Stood in the field like a statue. When overseers tried to move her, she put 2 of them in the hospital. Fourth owner was a collector, wanted exotic slaves for his estate. She escaped within a week. Took 3 other slaves with her. They got caught, but the owner died 6 months later. Poisoned, they said. Never proved who did it. Fifth owner lasted 2 weeks before selling her back to me at a loss. Venn looked at the orc woman with something approaching professional respect. She's smart, dangerous, and completely unbroken. Honestly, worth more dead than alive at this point. Planning to sell her to the northern arenas if nobody takes her by sunset. At least there she'll make me profit before something sharp ends her. The orc woman hadn't moved during this entire recitation. Stood there staring at nothing, her green hands wrapped around the cage bars with enough force to make her knuckles pale. But Cyrus noticed something else. On her left wrist, partially hidden by torn cloth wrapped around it, was a glint of dark metal. A band of some kind. She'd wrapped it deliberately, carefully hiding it from view. The kind of thing you hide when it's the only thing left that belongs to you. How much? The words escaped before Cyrus's merchant brain could calculate the consequences. Venn's eyebrows climbed. For the orc, for Thera, Cyrus didn't know her name. But she had to have one. Everyone had a name, even when the world tried to take it. "Call her whatever you want once she's yours," Venn said, scratching his chin with the knife point. 90 gold. Final price. And honestly, you'd be smarter buying literally any other slave here. That one's going to end badly for someone. Probably whoever's fool enough to purchase her. 90 gold. That was everything Cyrus had earned this season. Money meant to establish a permanent trading post in the capital. Money that represented a future that wasn't measured in muddy roads and strangers' spare rooms. Money that could buy stability, respectability, maybe even a life that lasted longer than the next shipping season. He looked at the orc woman again. She'd turned her head now, was looking directly at him. Not with hope, not with gratitude, just looking, trying to calculate what fresh nightmare was about to walk into her cage. And Cyrus realized something that made all his careful plans feel remarkably small. He realized that if he walked away now, he'd spend the rest of his life wondering what happened to the orc woman, whose eyes still knew how to fight, who still remembered being someone other than property. Sometimes the most expensive thing you can buy isn't freedom. It's the ability to look at yourself in the mirror afterward. 90 gold, Cyrus said. His voice sounded strange, too steady for someone making the worst financial decision of his life. I'll need proper documentation, full ownership transfer, no loopholes where you reclaim her in 6 months. Ven's smile widened. You're either the kindest man I've met or the stupidest. Either way, your gold spends the same. Let me get the papers. 25 minutes later, Cyrus owned another human being. Well, technically an orc, but the distinction felt like exactly the kind of moral gymnastics people did to sleep at night. The cage door opened with a sound like rusted thunder. The orc woman Thera, he was calling her Thera, until she told him otherwise, didn't move, just watched him with those burning eyes. You can come out, Cyrus said. She didn't move. Look, I know this is... He stopped, started again. I'm not going to hurt you. He'd said exactly the wrong thing. Her eyes flashed with something that might have been rage or dark humor. When she finally spoke, her voice was rough from disuse, deep, the kind of voice built for giving orders across battlefields. Humans always say that, right before they hurt you. She moved then, not toward freedom, toward him. For a second, Cyrus understood why 5 previous owners had struggled. She moved like controlled violence, like a storm deciding whether to break or dissipate. But she didn't attack, just walked past him, out of the cage, into unfiltered sunlight she probably hadn't seen in months. She stood there blinking against the brightness. Her hands hung at her sides. She didn't run, didn't fight, just stood like someone who'd forgotten what to do with space that wasn't bounded by walls. Come on, Cyrus said quietly. Let's get you somewhere that isn't here. She followed. But the way she followed made it clear she wasn't obeying. She was following because she wanted to see what happened next, and that was different. That was something. The walk through Vermilion Port was educational in the worst way. People stared. Of course they stared. A moderately well-dressed merchant walking beside a 7-foot orc woman in slave rags wasn't subtle. But it wasn't just staring. It was judgment crystallizing in real time. Mothers pulled children closer. Shopkeepers discovered urgent business in storage rooms. An elderly woman made the sign against evil. A dock worker spat on the cobblestones as they passed. Cyrus felt anger burn in his chest. Not at Thera, at all of them. At a world that looked at a person and saw a monster. At the casual cruelty of deciding someone's worth by skin color. Thera's expression never changed. She just walked eyes forward, like she'd learned long ago that human hatred was as reliable as sunrise. Expecting it meant it hurt less when it came. They reached Cyrus's rented room above a fishmonger's shop near the docks. One room. A bed, a table, a window overlooking an alley where stray dogs conducted nightly negotiations over territory. Not much, but it was private, and right now privacy felt more valuable than gold. Thera stopped at the threshold, didn't enter, just stood there examining the room like it might contain traps. You can come in, Cyrus said, then realizing how that sounded. I mean, you don't have to, but there's a bed, clean water, food if you're hungry, and before you ask, yes, there's a lock on the door, and no, I don't have the only key. He pulled the key from his belt, held it out. She stared at it like it was a snake. What's the catch? Her voice carried suspicion, like armor. No catch. Rooms paid for 4 more days. I sleep in tavern common rooms half the time anyway. He set the key on the table. There's a bathhouse 3 streets over. I'll get you proper clothes, and we need to figure out what happens next. What happens next, she said flatly, is you use me however you want until you get bored. Then you sell me to someone worse. She said it like she was explaining that water was wet. Simple facts about the world. Cyrus sat down heavily in the room's single chair. Suddenly felt every mile he'd traveled in the past 4 months. I'm not going to use you. I'm not going to sell you. I bought you because... He stopped. Because why? Because he felt guilty. Because he wanted to be a hero. Because somewhere between seeing her eyes and counting out his gold, he'd stopped thinking about profit and started thinking about what was right. Because you saw something in that cage that reminded you you're human, he finished quietly. And I didn't want to forget. She was quiet for a long moment. Then what's your name? Iris. Cyrus Aldrich. And you gave me a name. Thera. Why that name? I didn't give you a name. I just... He met her eyes. You already had one. I didn't know it yet. Is Thera right? For the first time since he'd seen her, something shifted in her expression. Not softness, but something that wasn't quite so hard. Close enough, she said, and took the key. 3 days turned into a week. A week turned into 2. Cyrus quickly learned that buying someone's freedom and helping them actually be free were 2 completely different problems. Thera was legally his property, which meant legally she couldn't work, couldn't own anything, couldn't exist in human society except as an extension of him. And Thera didn't know how to be free. She flinched when he moved too quickly, ate like someone expecting the food to be taken away, slept in the corner instead of the bed always positioned where she could see the door. She also didn't know how to accept help. When he brought clothes, she inspected them for hours before putting them on, like she was trying to figure out what they'd cost her later. When he paid for bathhouse access, she asked 3 times what he wanted in return. When he did nothing, asked for nothing, she got more suspicious, not less. People don't do things for free, she said on the 5th day. They were in the room, him at the table, reviewing merchant ledgers. He couldn't afford to ignore her by the window watching the street. There's always a price. Maybe, Cyrus said, but maybe the price is just that I can't be the kind of person who walks past someone in a cage and pretends I didn't see them. She snorted. Not quite a laugh, more like the sound you make when you hear something so absurd it might actually be true. You're going to regret buying me, she said, not cruelly, almost gently, like she was warning him about incoming weather. Everyone does, eventually. Maybe, but that's my problem, not yours. That night, she slept in the bed for the first time, still facing the door, still with one hand under the pillow where she'd hidden the knife he'd bought her, not because he thought she needed protection, but because she'd asked and saying no felt like exactly the wrong answer. Progress, he thought. Small, fragile, but progress. Mira the baker noticed Thera on day 4. Mira noticed everything, probably because she spent 16 hours a day kneading dough and watching the street through her shop window. She was 60-something, built like a particularly sturdy barrel, and had approximately 0 tolerance for anyone's nonsense. She knocked on Cyrus's door at dawn with a basket of bread and what she called a terrible feeling in my sourdough starter. Your sourdough told you to check on me, Cyrus asked, still wiping sleep from his eyes. Don't mock the starter. It's been alive longer than you have, and it's seen things. Mira peered past him into the room. Thera was awake. She was always awake when someone knocked, standing in the corner tense as a drawn bowstring. Well, Mira said, looking Thera up and down. You're a tall one, aren't you, green too? My rye said you'd be green. Thought it was being poetic. Thera stared at this tiny human woman who was talking about bread like it had opinions and showing 0 fear of a 7-foot orc. Your rye talks to you. They all do if you're quiet enough to listen. Most people aren't. Mira bustled past Cyrus without invitation. You're malnourished. I can see it from here. When's the last time you ate something that wasn't designed to keep you barely alive? I eat fine, Thera said, defensive. You eat like a prisoner. That's different from eating like a person. Mira started unpacking her basket. I'm making you real food, the kind with actual nutrition and flavor. You have a pot in this room, boy. I'm 36, Cyrus said, and I'm 64. You're a boy. Pot. By afternoon, the room smelled like something besides uncertainty and old fish. It smelled like bread and stew and care. Mira sat at the table. Thera sat across from her, still wary but hunger overriding caution. Cyrus stood by the window watching this strange alliance form over soup. You've got something hidden on your wrist, Mira said suddenly. Not accusatory, just observant. I can see the shape under all those wrappings. Thera's hand went to her left wrist instinctively. Protective. It's nothing. It's something. Otherwise you wouldn't hide it like that. Mira took a bite of bread. I'm not asking you to show me. Just saying whatever it is, it mattered enough that you kept it through hell and back. That means it's worth keeping. Thera was quiet for a long moment. Then slowly she unwrapped the cloth from her wrist. The bracelet was black iron carved with symbols that flowed like water frozen midstream. Even under dirt and time, you could see it had been beautiful once. Still was, if you knew how to look. It's from my clan, Thera said quietly. You get it when you complete your first real hunt. When they decide you're adult enough to be trusted with weapons and responsibility. It means, her voice roughened, it means you belong, that you're part of something bigger than yourself. How old were you? Cyrus asked. 14 summers. I killed a cliff bear with just a spear in my wits. There was pride in her voice. The first real pride he'd heard. My father put this on my wrist himself. Said I was a hunter now. Said no one could take that from me. And yet they tried, Mira said, not unkindly. They took everything else. My weapons, my clan, my name. They tried to take this too. Called me slave, thing, green skin, whatever, stripped away who I was. Her voice went hard. But they couldn't take this. I hid it, wrapped it, protected it. 7 years and 5 owners, and not one of them knew it was there. That takes strength, Cyrus said. Keeping something of yourself when the world wants to erase you. Thera looked at him. Really looked. Like she was trying to figure out if he meant it, or if this was just more human words that sounded nice but meant nothing. Or it's just stubbornness, she said. Sometimes hard to tell the difference. Mira smiled. Stubbornness is just strength in work clothes. Now eat your stew before it gets cold. The carrots worked very hard. Later that night, after Mira left with promises to return with proper bread, not that garbage the other bakers sell, Thera spoke again, quiet in the darkness of the room. Why did you buy me? Cyrus had been expecting this question, had rehearsed answers. Something about doing the right thing, about human decency, about seeing another person in need. But in the dark, with just truth between them, he said, because I was tired of being the kind of person who looked away. And because when I saw you in that cage, I saw someone who hadn't given up. You were still fighting, even if it was just by staying alive. And I guess, he paused, I guess I wanted to be the kind of person who helped people who were still fighting. You know, this doesn't end well, Thera said. Not a question, a statement. Maybe not, but that's tomorrow's problem. Tomorrow always comes. Then we'll deal with it tomorrow. Tomorrow came faster than either of them wanted. His name was Kovac the Collector, and he arrived in Vermilion Port 8 weeks after Cyrus bought Thera's freedom. He arrived with legal documents claiming Thera was stolen property. That her capture 7 years ago gave him permanent recovery rights. And he arrived wearing a necklace made of teeth. Different species, human, orc, elf, if Cyrus was seeing correctly. Each one taken from someone who'd probably had a name before Kovac decided to wear them. They found him waiting outside the fishmonger's shop one morning. 7 feet of muscle and scars and absolutely no humanity in his yellow eyes. He looked at Thera the way you'd look at a horse that got loose. Annoyed but not worried. Hello, Thera, he said in Orcish. His voice was gravel mixed with broken glass. Been a long time. 7 years of hunting you across 4 kingdoms. Do you know how much time you have cost me? Thera's face went carefully blank. The same blank she'd had in the cage. But Cyrus saw her hand drift toward the knife at her belt. Who is this? Cyrus asked, though he already knew. Could smell it on him. This is Kovac, Thera said, still in Orcish. But Cyrus had been learning. He's the one who captured me the first time. Sold me to my first owner. Kovac grinned. It was not a pleasant grin. And now I'm here to collect what's mine. You belong to me, little traitor. You were supposed to die in that raid 7 years ago, but you lived, which makes you mine to sell. She's not property, Cyrus said in common then again in his broken Orcish. She's not a thing to own. Kovac looked at him for the first time, really looked. And Cyrus felt the weight of that gaze. This wasn't a businessman like Ven. This was someone who enjoyed his work. You're the human who bought her. Cute. Kovac pulled out papers. I have documentation proving you bought stolen goods, which means you owe me compensation. Return the slave, pay me 900 gold for my trouble, or I take both of you. I don't have 900 gold. Then I guess we're taking both. Kovac reached for Thera. What happened next happened fast. Thera's knife was out before Cyrus finished blinking. The blade found Kovac's reaching hand opened a line of green blood across his palm. Not deep, but clear. "You don't touch me," Thera said. Her voice was different now. Not the hesitant voice she used with Cyrus. This was command, the voice of someone who'd led warriors and expected to be obeyed. "Not ever again," Kovac laughed. Actually laughed. "There's the fighter I remember. You know what, I'll give you a choice. Come with me now, I'll let the human live. Fight, and I'll make him watch every second of what I do to you before I kill him slowly. Your decision." Cyrus saw it, saw the exact moment Thera was going to surrender, going to walk back into chains because someone else's freedom mattered more than her own. Saw it in the way her shoulder started to drop, the way her grip on the knife loosened. "No," Cyrus said. One word, but he said it like his life depended on it. Because it did. Thera looked at him. "He'll kill you." "Maybe, but I didn't buy your freedom so you could give it back to keep me safe." He turned to Kovac. "She stays. You leave. Or we see how good you are when you're fighting someone who fights back." Kovac looked between them, then shrugged. "You have 3 days to get me my money or deliver the slave. After that, I stop being polite. And you really don't want to see what I'm like when I'm not polite." He left, walked away like he had all the time in the world. Because he did. The law was on his side. Money was on his side. Violence was definitely on his side. Thera put her knife away. Her hands were shaking. "Just slightly, just enough to notice if you were paying attention." "You shouldn't have done that," she said. "Probably not. He wasn't bluffing. He'll kill you. He's killed for less." "I know." "Then why?" "Because some things are worth dying for." Cyrus sat down heavily. "And some people are worth fighting for even when the fight's stupid and you're going to lose." She looked at him for a long time. Really looked like she was seeing him for the first time. Or maybe seeing something she didn't want to believe existed. "You're insane," she said finally. "Yeah, probably." "What do we do?" Cyrus tried to think. 900 gold. He had 19 gold left. Even if he sold everything he owned, he might reach 60. The math didn't work. "I don't know," he admitted, "but we have 3 days to figure it out." Thera was quiet. "Then there's another option." "What?" "I kill him." "Thera, listen to me." She crouched down so they were eye level. "I was a warrior before I was a slave. A good one. I've killed in battles, in pits, in dark alleys when owners decided they didn't need me alive anymore. Kovac is dangerous, but so am I. I just forgot for a while. If you kill him, they'll execute you. The city guard won't care that he was trying to enslave you. They'll just see an orc who killed someone. He's not human, he's orc. They'll see an orc who killed someone. The distinction won't matter to them. Then I'll run, take my chances. And I'll never know if you made it." Cyrus met her eyes. "I'll spend the rest of my life wondering if you died free or died running. And somehow both options feel like losing." She sat back, frustrated, angry, but also something else. Something that looked suspiciously like she cared what happened to him. "You're making this very difficult," she said. "Good. You've made things difficult for me since day one. Fair's fair." Despite everything, she almost smiled. "Tell me about your life before you bought a problem that can't be solved." So he did. Told her about growing up in a merchant family, about learning that people everywhere wanted basically the same thing, security, comfort, to know their children would be okay. Told her about his parents dying in the plague, about traveling because staying in one place hurt too much, about being tired of moving but not knowing how to stop. And Thera told him about her clan, about hunting in mountains where snow lasted 9 months, about war songs and feast fires in a world where green skin wasn't wrong, just was, about being 14 and killing a cliff bear and thinking she was invincible, about being 15 and waking up in chains and learning she wasn't. They talked until dawn, until the sun came up on day 1 of 3, until they'd said everything and nothing, until they both knew that whatever happened next, they wouldn't face it alone. Mira arrived at noon with bread and news. The orc hunter's been asking about you, she said without preamble. Showed papers to the city guard. They're on his side legally speaking. Boy, you've bought yourself trouble. I know. Good. Knowing you're in trouble is the first step to getting out of it. She set down her basket. Now let's talk about what we're actually going to do. We? Thera asked. Of course we. You think I let people eat my bread and then leave them to die? The sourdough would never forgive me. Mira sat down at the table like she was settling in for a siege. You have 3 days and no money. But what you do have is something Kovac doesn't. What's that? Cyrus asked. You have people who care whether you live or die. That's worth more than gold. You just have to be smart about it. What followed was 3 days of the strangest conspiracy Cyrus had ever been part of. Mira rallied people she knew. Merchants who operated in gray spaces where laws got fuzzy. Dock workers who moved goods without questions. People who hated slavers more than they feared breaking rules. By day 2, they had a plan. Not a good plan, but a plan. They were going to fake Thera's death. It's insane, Cyrus said when Mira explained it. All the best plans are, Mira replied cheerfully. The plan was this: stage an accident, make it look like Thera died trying to escape. Kovac would collect the body, a fake body courtesy of some very illegal flesh magic, and a necromancer who owed Mira a favor involving sourdough starter and questions she wouldn't elaborate on. While Kovac was busy with a fake body, Thera would be smuggled onto a ship heading north, to orc territories, to freedom that wasn't surrounded by walls. And what happens to you? Thera asked Cyrus. I'll be fine. Kovac wants you, not me. He'll kill you anyway, out of spite. Maybe, but you'll be free. That's what matters. That's not... She stopped, started again. You're the most frustrating human I've ever met. I've been told. Day 3 came too fast. They staged it at dusk, made it look like Thera panicked and ran for the docks, fell, hit her head, died quick. The body was disturbingly good. Even Cyrus flinched looking at it. Kovac arrived to collect his property, looked at the body, frowned. This is fake, he said. Cyrus's heart stopped. What? She's dead. You can see. I can see a meat puppet made by someone who knows flesh magic. Kovac kicked the body. It didn't react right. Where is she? I don't. Kovac moved fast, had Cyrus by the throat, lifted off the ground before Cyrus could finish his sentence. Where is she? She's gone, Cyrus choked out. She ran hours ago. You're too late. Then I guess you're the consolation prize. What happened next, Cyrus would remember in fragments. The teeth of that necklace pressed against his face. The smell of old blood. Kovac's breath hot and rancid. The absolute certainty that he was about to die. Then a roar. Not a human sound, not even close. This was orc pure and undiluted. The kind of sound that made predators reconsider their life choices. Thera hit Kovac like an avalanche, deciding to relocate. They went down in a tangle of limbs and fury. Cyrus fell, gasped for air, watched as 7 years of contained rage decided it was done, being contained. Thera fought like someone who remembered what they were. Every move was practiced, experienced. She didn't just fight Kovac. She fought every slaver who'd ever touched her, every owner who'd called her property, every human who'd looked at her and seen a thing instead of a person. And Kovac fought back. He was good, maybe even great, but he'd made a critical mistake. He thought Thera was the same scared slave he'd sold 7 years ago. She wasn't. The fight ended with Kovac on the ground, Thera's knee on his chest, her knife at his throat. The necklace of teeth lay broken on the cobblestones, scattered like the lives they represented. You're going to leave, Thera said. Her voice was cold, controlled. You're going to tear up those papers. You're going to forget I exist, or I'm going to finish what I started. You'll hang for this, Kovac spat blood. Killing me won't solve anything. Maybe not, but it'll feel good, and after 7 years, that's enough. Thera. Cyrus's voice quiet. Don't. He'll come back. Then we deal with it when he does. But if you kill him, you are not free. You're just less trapped. That's different. She looked at Cyrus. The knife didn't move from Kovac's throat. You don't understand what he is. I understand that killing him makes you what he says you are, A monster. And you're not. You're a warrior. There's a difference. For a long, terrible moment, Cyrus thought she was going to do it anyway. Thought 7 years of rage was going to win. But then slowly she lifted the knife, stood up, looked down at Kovac like he was something she'd scraped off her boot. "Get out of my city," she said, "and if I ever see you again, I won't stop next time." Kovac got up slowly. Everything about him screamed this wasn't over. But he was smart enough to know when he was beaten. For now, he left, limping, bleeding, but alive. Thera stood there, shaking the knife still in her hand. Cyrus walked over slowly, like you'd approach something wild that might spook. "You okay?" he asked. She looked at him, and for the first time since he'd met her, she smiled. It wasn't a big smile. It wasn't even a particularly happy smile, but it was real. "No," she said, "but I'm free. That's better than okay." They left the city the next day. Cyrus sold everything he couldn't carry. His stock, his contacts, his careful merchant life. Sold it for ship passage north, to territories where green skin was just skin, where warriors were judged by actions, not color. Mira came to see them off, pressed herbs into Thera's hands for the journey. Mint for memory, rosemary for courage, and sourdough starter because you'll need to eat. "Thank you," Thera said, and meant it. "Don't thank me yet. You're heading into trouble. Freedom's harder than chains sometimes. You have to decide what to do with it." Mira looked at Cyrus. "You take care of her boy. I think she's been taking care of me." "Smart lad. You're learning." The ship left at dawn. Thera stood at the rail watching the city shrink behind them. The bracelet on her wrist caught the morning light. Black iron and old symbols, and proof that even when everything else was taken, some things could be kept. "Regret buying me yet?" she asked without looking at Cyrus. He thought about it. About the merchant life he'd given up, the security, the careful plans, about the fact that he was sailing to a place where humans were the minority and he had no contacts, no business, no plan. "Ask me again in a year," he said. She laughed, small, rusty from disuse. But it was a start. The ship docked in Iron Peak Harbor 6 weeks later. Thera stepped onto the pier and stood very still, just breathing, taking in a place where green skin didn't automatically mean slave monster property, where it just meant orc. Cyrus stepped beside her, pack slung over his shoulder. He was about to ask if she was okay when she dropped to her knees right there on the weathered wood. Not collapsing, deliberate. She pressed her forehead to the dock. Her shoulders shook. It took Cyrus a moment to realize she was crying. Not the silent tears he'd seen before. These were different, louder, messier, the kind of crying that came from somewhere deep and finally finding its way out. "Thera," he knelt beside her, uncertain. 7 years, she said. Her voice was muffled, broken. 7 years since I stood on land where I was a person first, where my skin color was normal, where children don't run from me and mothers don't pull their babies away. She looked up at him. Her face was wet, but her eyes were different, lighter somehow, like she'd set something heavy down. "This is real, yes, not dream, not trick. It's real," Ira said softly. "You're home." "Not home. Home is gone. Clan is scattered or dead. But," she looked around at the bustling port. Orc dock workers, orc merchants, a few humans mixed in, treated no differently than anyone else. "But this is place where I can breathe. That is enough." An orc woman approached them. She was older, with gray, streaking her black hair, and a walking stick carved with intricate patterns. She wore practical clothes that marked her as someone important without needing to show off. "You two look lost," she said in Orcish. Then, noticing Cyrus, switched smoothly to Common. "New arrivals." Thera stood wiping her face. "Yes, we just been through hell and back by the looks of you." The woman's eyes were sharp, missing nothing. Not the way Thera stood slightly in front of Cyrus. Not the slave-marked scars on Thera's wrists where shackles had worn the skin. Not the bracelet she wore over them. "I'm Kessa. I run the newcomer house. Help people get settled. Fine work. Remember how to be people instead of property." She said it matter-of-factly, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "You're not the first escaped slaves to arrive here. Won't be the last." "We're not," Cyrus started. He's not escaped slave, Thera said quietly. He freed me, bought me, and freed me. Kessa's eyebrows rose. She looked at Cyrus with new interest. That's so? Well, doesn't change that you both need help getting settled. Come on, I've got stew, real stew, the kind that doesn't come with conditions. The newcomer house was a large building near the docks, 4 stories of weathered wood and practical architecture. The common room on the ground floor was filled with people. Mostly orcs, but Cyrus spotted humans, half-elves, even a dwarf in the corner, arguing with someone about metalwork techniques. We get about 30 newcomers a month, Kessa explained, ladling stew into wooden bowls. Most are orcs escaping human territories. Some are humans who got tired of human prejudice and decided green neighbors were better than hateful ones. Few others mixed in. She set the bowls down. Bowls. Eat first, then we talk about what you need. The stew was thick, rich, and tasted like Mira's bread had smelled. Like care. Like someone had made it because they wanted to, not because they had to. Thera ate slowly at first, then faster, like she couldn't believe it would keep being there. Cyrus ate too, but mostly watched the room. Watched people laugh, argue, exist without fear. What do you do? He asked Kessa. I mean, how does this work, the newcomer house? We help people transition, Kessa said. Find them work if they want it. Connect them with clan families if they have none. Teach common language to those who don't know it. Teach Orcish to humans who are trying. Help people remember what normal feels like when they've forgotten. She looked at Thera. You have clan markings. Faded but there. What clan? Stormridge, Thera said quietly. From the northern mountains. 7 years ago. There was a raid. Fighting. I got separated. Captured. Kessa's expression softened. Stormridge, I knew some of them. Good hunters. Strong warriors. Your chief was Gorak the Wise, yes. Thera's hands tightened on her bowl. Yes, my uncle. He died in the raid, along with most of the clan. I'm sorry. Kessa said it simply, like the words actually meant something instead of being empty sounds. Some Stormridge survivors came through here about 5 years back. Not many, maybe 20. They settled in the eastern valleys. I can get you their location if you want. Thera was very still. My brother Corvin. Did anyone mention? I don't remember names from that group, but I can ask around. Kessa pulled out a worn journal. I keep records. Help people find family when they can. She wrote something down. But first you two need rest. Real rest. I've got rooms upstairs. Nothing fancy but better than ship bunks. We can't pay, Cyrus said. I mean, not much. I have some gold left, but... Did I ask for payment? Kessa looked at him with amusement. Newcomer House runs on contributions. Those who can pay do. Those who can't, don't. Everyone works if they're able, helps cook, clean, maintain the building. Pull your weight in that way if you can't contribute coin. She stood. But tonight you just rest. Tomorrow we figure out next steps. The room they were given was small. 2 beds, a window, a wash basin, simple and clean. Thera stood in the doorway for a long moment, just looking. What is it? Cyrus asked. A room with 2 beds, she said, where I can choose which one to sleep in, where no one owns me, where no one comes in without permission. She walked in slowly, touched the wall like she was making sure it was real. 7 years, Cyrus. 7 years since I had a room that was mine, even for one night. She sat on the bed closest to the window, tested the mattress. It was stuffed with something soft, not straw or stone. Then she did something Cyrus hadn't expected. She started unwrapping the cloth from her bracelet. Thera, in my clan, she said, we have a tradition. When you escape death, when you survive something that should have killed you, you clean your iron. You honor the metal that protected you. You thank it for its service. She'd fully unwrapped the bracelet now. It was filthy. 7 years of dirt, blood, hiding. I haven't cleaned this since the raid. Haven't dared take it off for more than minutes. Afraid someone would see it. Take it. Melt it down or sell it. She looked at Cyrus. But I'm safe now. For the first time in 7 years, I'm safe enough to take this off and clean it properly. To honor it the way my father taught me. Do you need help? Cyrus asked. Yes. She held out the bracelet. In my clan, cleaning your iron after surviving death is sacred. You don't do it alone. You do it with your core thak, your soul bond, the person who stands with you. She met his eyes. Will you help me? Cyrus took the bracelet carefully. It was heavier than he'd expected. The black iron was etched with symbols he couldn't read, but they had a weight to them, a meaning that transcended language. Tell me what to do, he said. Thera smiled. First we need water, hot if possible, and oil, any kind, and cloth. They worked in comfortable silence. Thera showed him how to clean the iron, carefully respecting the metal, while removing the years of grime. How to oil it so it wouldn't rust. How to polish it until the symbol shone. As they worked, Thera talked. My father made this, she said. He was a blacksmith before he was a warrior. This was his masterwork. He made one for each of his children when they came of age. My brother Corvin has one too. Red iron instead of black, with symbols for fire and strength. She ran her finger over a particular symbol. This one means memory. This one means courage. This one, she paused. This one means home, not a place. The feeling, the knowing that you belong somewhere. Do you think you'll find your brother? Cyrus asked. I don't know. 7 years is a long time. He might think I'm dead, might have moved on, she stopped, might not want the sister who survived when so many others died. He'll want you, Cyrus said with certainty. If he's half as stubborn as you, he's been searching. Maybe? Thera didn't sound convinced, but even if I never find him, I have this. His matching bracelet and mine made by the same hands. Connected, that is enough. They finished cleaning the bracelet as night fell. It gleamed in the lamplight, beautiful and terrible and full of memory. Thera slipped it back onto her wrist. It fit perfectly, like it had never left. Thank you, she said, for helping with this, for seeing that it mattered. Everything about you matters, Cyrus said. Then realizing how that sounded, added quickly, I mean you're a person. All of you matters, not just the parts that are convenient or... She was laughing, quietly but genuine. I know what you meant, she said, and thank you for that too, for seeing all of me. Not just orc, not just slave, not just warrior. All of it. That night, Cyrus lay in his bed listening to Thera breathe across the room. She was actually sleeping. Not the alert half-sleep she'd done in Vermilion Port, but real sleep. Deep and healing. Tomorrow they'd figure out next steps. Long-term housing. Searching for her and brother. But tonight, for the first time in months, they were both safe enough to simply rest. The next morning, Kessa had plans. She said, pointing at Thera, the Eastern Valleys are 3 days' travel. I'm sending a supply caravan there next week. You can ride along, search for your brother. Meet the Storm Ridge survivors. She turned to Cyrus. And you? What skills do you have besides buying slaves and making terrible financial decisions? I'm a spice merchant, Cyrus said. Was a spice merchant. I know trade routes, pricing, negotiation. Good. We need someone who can coordinate with southern traders. Most orcs who come here have skills, not business experience. You can help establish better trade relationships. Fair trade where humans don't automatically assume they can cheat us because we're orcs. She pulled out a map. There's a trade hall in the city center. They meet every 3rd day to negotiate contracts. I'll introduce you. You prove you're useful, you'll have steady work. I don't know if I'm the right person for your human who doesn't think orcs are property. That already makes you better than 90% of human traders. Kessa rolled up the map. Trust me, you'll do fine. The week passed quickly. Cyrus met with traders, established contacts, found his footing in a city where green skin was the majority. It was disorienting in the best way. Being the minority for once, being the one who stood out. But people were kind, patient, helped him with language, with customs, with understanding that his perspective was limited, but his effort mattered. Thera, meanwhile, prepared for the journey east. Kessa helped her gather supplies, connected her with the caravan master, made sure she had everything she needed. The night before she left, they sat on the newcomer house roof, watching stars. Are you nervous? Cyrus asked. Terrified, Thera admitted. What if I find my brother and he's moved on? What if he doesn't recognize me? What if... She stopped. What if he blames me for surviving when others didn't? He won't. You don't know that. You're right, I don't. Cyrus looked at her. But I know that anyone who meets you and doesn't see how hard you fought to stay alive, how strong you had to be to survive 7 years of hell isn't worth knowing, even if they're family. Thera was quiet for a moment. Will you be here when I get back? Where else would I go? Back south to humans, to your people. My people, Cyrus said slowly, are the ones who don't look at other people and see property, who don't judge worth by skin color, who think freedom matters more than profit. He met her eyes. That means you're my people more than most humans I've met. She smiled. You're very strange, Cyrus Aldrich. I've been told. They sat in comfortable silence watching the city below, lights in windows, people living their lives, normal and extraordinary at the same time. When I come back, Thera said quietly, whether I find my brother or not, She paused. I want to build something. Not just survive, build. Maybe a training hall. Teach young orcs to fight, to defend themselves, so they don't end up like I did. That's a good dream, Cyrus said. What's your dream? He thought about it. Honestly, I never let myself dream much. Just kept moving, kept working. Figured if I stopped to dream, I'd realize how empty my life was. And now I think maybe I want to build something too. Help orcs and humans trade fairly. Prove that working together works better than keeping each other at arm's length. He looked at her. Maybe we can build our dreams together. Training hall and trade hall. Connected, showing that strength and commerce can exist in the same space. Together, Thera repeated, testing the word. I like that. The caravan left at dawn. Iris stood at the city gates watching Thera ride away. She sat on a sturdy mountain pony pack secured behind her. She'd braided her hair, cleaned her clothes. But it was more than that. She sat different, held herself different, like someone who was remembering how to take up space. She turned back once, raised her hand in farewell. He raised his back. Then she was gone, headed east toward possibility and family and whatever waited in those valleys. Cyrus walked back to the newcomer house. Kessa was waiting with tea and knowing eyes. You going to pace around like a worried father until she gets back? Probably not, Cyrus said. Then more honestly, definitely yes. Kessa laughed. Good, means you care. Now sit, drink tea. Tell me what you know about southern spice routes. We have work to do. The 3 weeks Thera was gone were the longest of Cyrus's life. He threw himself into work, met with traders, established contracts, started building a reputation as the human who actually negotiated fairly, who didn't try to cheat orcs because he thought they wouldn't notice. But every night he wondered where she was, if she'd found her brother, if she was safe, if she was happy. Kessa caught him staring at the eastern road one evening. She's fine, the older orc woman said. Thera survived 7 years of slavery. She can handle a 3-week journey. I know, I just miss her. I know, it's written all over your face. Kessa sat beside him. You love her. It wasn't a question. I don't, Cyrus started, then stopped. Is it that obvious? Only to everyone with eyes. Kessa smiled. Question is, does she know Atwish? We haven't. Cyrus struggled for words. It's complicated. She's just getting free, learning how to be herself again. The last thing she needs is me complicating that with feelings. Maybe. Or maybe what she needs is to know that someone sees her, wants her, not as property or obligation, but as choice, as desire, as person worth loving. Kessa stood. But that's for you two to figure out. Just don't wait too long. Life's short. Freedom's precious. Love is rare. When you find all three, you don't waste time pretending you don't want them. Thera returned on a cloudy afternoon 3 weeks and 2 days after leaving. Cyrus was at the trade hall when someone burst in. The Eastern caravan's back. He dropped everything, ran through the streets, arrived at the gates out of breath and trying to look casual about it. Failed spectacularly. Thera was there, dismounting, looking tired and dusty and absolutely beautiful. And she wasn't alone. A massive orc stood beside her, 7.5 feet of muscle and scars with the same facial structure as Thera, same gold eyes, same proud bearing. Her brother. Had to be. They were talking animatedly in Orcish, laughing about something. Thera's face was brighter than Cyrus had ever seen it. Alive. Joyful. She spotted him. Her face lit up even more. Cyrus. She waved him over. Come meet Corvin. He walked over suddenly, feeling very small and very human. Corvin looked him up and down. His expression was unreadable. So, he said in heavily accented common, you are human who bought my sister. Yes, Cyrus said. Figured honesty was the best approach. I am. Corvin was silent for a long, terrible moment. Then he pulled Cyrus into a hug that crushed approximately 3 ribs. Thank you, he said. His voice was rough. Thank you for seeing sister when world tried to make her invisible. Thank you for choosing difficult path when easy path was walk away. Thank you for bringing her home. He released Cyrus, who gasped for air. You are good human, strange, stupid for spending all money, but good. Corvin grinned. Sister tells me you want to build trade alliance. Make fair business between orc and human. This is good dream. Corvin will help. We make it real. Over the next weeks, everything shifted and settled into a new pattern. Thera found a building near the newcomer house, old training hall that had been abandoned. She and Corvin started renovating it, slowly, with help from the community. Cyrus established the Fair Trade Cooperative, a formal organization that connected Orcish crafters with southern markets at honest prices. Corvin helped with logistics. His size and presence made cheating traders think twice. And Thera and Cyrus found rhythms together. Training in the mornings, her teaching him basic combat, him teaching her more common language reading, writing, working together in the afternoons, evenings spent on the newcomer house roof talking about everything and nothing. One evening about 2 months after her return, Thera said something that changed everything. They were watching the sunset. She was cleaning her bracelet again. A weekly ritual now. Cyrus, she said, in my clan, when you love someone, you don't say it with words first. You show it. Through actions. Through being present. Through choosing them every day. She looked at him. You have been choosing me every day since you bought my freedom. Since before that even. When you saw me in cage and decided you couldn't walk away. Thera, let me finish. She smiled. In my clan, once you've shown your love through actions, you make it official. You give them iron. Something you've made or something precious to you. Symbol of commitment, of choosing them. She held out her hand. In it was a small piece of black iron, carved roughly but with care, shaped like a star. I made this, she said, from piece of my bracelet I cut off, from the iron my father made. I made this for you, because you are my soul bond, my core thack, my person. Cyrus took the iron star. It was warm from her hand. I don't have anything as meaningful to give you, he said. I don't have family iron or clan symbols or you gave me freedom. You gave me back myself. You gave me future. Thera touched his face gently. That is more meaningful than any iron. I love you, Cyrus said, finally saying it, finally letting himself admit it. I've loved you since that first night when you finally smiled. Maybe even before that. I don't know when it started. I just know it's true. I know, Thera said. I have eyes, I have heart, I know. She kissed him. It was awkward because of height difference and because they'd never done this before and because life wasn't a smooth story where things happened perfectly. But it was real. It was theirs. It was exactly right. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Thera laughed. We are very stupid people, she said. The stupidest, Cyrus agreed. Good. World needs stupid people. Smart people build walls. Stupid people build bridges. They sat together as the sun set, as the city lit up below them, as their future stretched out uncertain but shared. The iron star hung around Cyrus's neck on a leather cord. Thera's bracelet gleamed on her wrist. 2 pieces of iron. 2 people. 2 lives that had crashed together in a slave market and somehow built something that looked suspiciously like home. The message arrived 6 months later. Cyrus was at the trade hall negotiating a contract for Orcish metalwork with southern merchants when a runner burst in. Cyrus Aldrich, you're needed at the newcomer house. Now, it's urgent. He ran, found Kessa in the common room, her face grim. Thera stood beside her reading a letter. Her expression was carefully blank, the expression she got when she was trying not to feel. What happened? Cyrus asked. Thera handed him the letter. It was written in common, but with obvious difficulty. The handwriting was shaky. To the orc called Thera, formerly property of Marcus Venn. This is to notify you that the human called Kovac the Collector has filed a formal recovery claim with the Southern Magistrate. He claims you are stolen property and demands your return or compensation of 1,000 gold. The magistrate has ruled in his favor. By law, you have 30 days to return south for judgment or pay the debt. Failure to comply will result in bounty hunters being authorized to collect you by force. This notice is legally binding across all territories, including the Northern Orc lands. You have been warned. Cyrus read it twice. Each time the words got worse. This is ridiculous, he said. You're free, I have the papers. Legal ownership transfer, then freedom papers. This can't be legal. It is legal, Kessa said quietly. Southern law allows previous owners to file recovery claims on escaped property within 10 years of loss. Kovac's claiming you stole her after he sold her, that the first sale was under false circumstances. That's insane. Venn had full authority to. Doesn't matter what makes sense, matters what law says. Kessa sat down heavily. Southern law doesn't recognize Northern freedom. To them, you're still his property that was sold illegally. Thera was very quiet, too quiet. But to Thera, Cyrus touched her arm. She looked at him. Her eyes were empty again, the way they'd been in the cage. I have to go back, she said flatly. No, absolutely not. If I don't, they send bounty hunters. Bounty hunters don't care about borders or territories. They come here, to Iron Peak, to our home. They kill anyone who gets in the way, including you, including Corvin, including everyone at the newcomer house. Let them try, Corvin said. He'd appeared in the doorway having heard everything. Let them come, we fight. We protect family. You can't fight entire bounty guild, Thera said. You can't fight Southern law. You can't. Her voice broke. You can't win this. She straightened her shoulders, became someone else, someone harder. I go back. I face magistrate. I accept judgment. Whatever it is, that keeps all of you safe. No, Cyrus said. We find another way. We fight this legally. With what? Thera's voice rose. We have no power in Southern courts. No money for lawyers, no standing. I am property that escaped. Law is clear. She pulled off the bracelet, held it out to Corvin. If I don't return, you keep this. You remember family. You remember I tried. Sister, no. Promise me. Thera's voice cracked. Promise me if I die, you keep fighting, keep building. Don't let them win. Corvin took the bracelet with shaking hands, pulled his sister into a crushing hug. I promise, but you not die. You too stubborn to die. They held each other, two siblings who'd found each other after 7 years, who'd had 6 months together, who weren't ready to lose each other again. Cyrus felt useless, helpless. All his money was gone. His contacts were Northern. His power was nothing. Then Kessa said something that changed everything. There is one option. Everyone looked at her. Northern territories have treaty with Southern kingdoms. Territorial sovereignty. Southern law can't compel extraction from Northern soil. Bounty hunters can't legally operate here. Then she's safe, Cyrus said. No, because the treaty has a clause. If someone with an active Southern judgment refuses to comply, the North has to provide alternative resolution, which means either pay the debt or, she paused, or offer combat settlement. What's combat settlement? Cyrus asked. Thera went very still. It's old law, ancient. From before territories split, if two parties can't agree on judgment, they can settle through combat. Champion against champion. Winner takes all. So we fight, Corvin said. I fight Kovac. I crush him. Problem solved. No, Kessa said. Combat settlement has rules. Champion must be chosen by the accused, and champion cannot be blood family. She looked at Cyrus. Champion has to be someone else, someone willing to fight to death if necessary, someone who will stand for the accused as core Thak, as soul bond. Understanding hit Cyrus like cold water. Me, he said, I'd be the champion. Yes, but I'm not a warrior. I'm a merchant. I can barely hold a sword. I'd die in minutes against someone like Kovac. Yes, Kessa said again, which is why this is terrible option. But it is option. Thera grabbed Cyrus's arm. No, absolutely not. You don't fight. You don't die for me. We find different way. What different way? Cyrus asked. We have no money, no legal standing, no power. The only other option is you going back. Then I go back. And I lose you after everything. After finding you, freeing you, loving you, I just lose you. Better than you dying. Maybe not for me. They stared at each other. Two people who'd built something impossible, watching it crumble under the weight of laws designed to keep people like Thera in chains. There is a third option, Corvin said quietly. Everyone looked at him. We train. We train Cyrus. We have 30 days. I train him every day. Every hour. We make him warrior. Not great warrior, but good enough, maybe enough to win. In 30 days, Thera shook her head. Impossible. You can't make warrior in 30 days. No, but can make survivor. Can teach him to stay alive long enough to find opening. To fight smart instead of strong. Corvin looked at Cyrus. You willing to learn, willing to bleed every day for 30 days, willing to hurt and train and become something you never thought you could be. Cyrus thought about Thera in a cage, thought about her going back to that, thought about losing her after everything they'd survived. Yes, he said, teach me. The next 30 days were the hardest of Cyrus's life. Corvin woke him before dawn every day, ran him through the city until his lungs burned, made him practice with wooden swords until his hands bled, taught him basic stances, basic strikes, basic survival. You not win through skill, Corvin explained on day 3 after Cyrus had been knocked down for the 100th time. You win through heart, through refusing to quit. Kovac is better fighter, stronger, more experienced. But maybe you want victory more. Thera watched the training. At first she tried to stop it, tried to convince Cyrus to give up this insane plan. But by day 10, something changed. She started helping, teaching him dirty tricks. Where to strike to make big opponent fall, how to use size disadvantage as advantage. In pits, I learned one thing, she said, showing him how to duck under a larger opponent's guard. Small fighter who survives 3 minutes becomes dangerous. Big fighter expects quick victory. When it doesn't come, they get frustrated. Frustrated fighters make mistakes. So I just survive. Just survive. Long enough for him to make mistake. Then you finish it. By day 20, Cyrus was different. Leaner, faster. Covered in bruises that bloomed purple and yellow across his skin. His hands had calluses. His eyes had changed. Still kind, but harder. Ready. You will not win, Corvin said on day 25. Brutal honesty. Kovac is too good, but you might survive. Might find opening. Might get lucky. That is all we can hope for. It's enough, Cyrus said, and meant it. The combat settlement was held at the territorial border. Neutral ground, a flat clearing where grass had been trampled by generations of duels, judgments, final resolutions. Southern magistrate was there, northern arbiter, witnesses from both territories. And Kovac. He looked exactly like Cyrus remembered. 7 feet of muscle and cruelty, the toothed necklace, the eyes that held no humanity. He smiled when he saw Cyrus. You're the champion, the little merchant. He laughed, actually laughed. This is insult. Send me real warrior, not boy playing dress up. I'm the champion, Cyrus said. His voice was steady. Let's get this done. Thera stood with Corvin and Kessa at the edge of the clearing. She wore the bracelet. Her hands were clenched into fists. The magistrate read the terms. Combat settlement under ancient treaty. Fight continues until surrender or death. Winner determines judgment. Are both champions ready? Yes, Kovac said. Yes, Cyrus said. Begin. Kovac moved fast, sword already swinging before the word finished echoing. Cyrus barely dodged, felt the blade whistle past his ear. He rolled, came up. Sword raised in the defensive stance Corvin had drilled into him 10,000 times. Kovac attacked again and again. Heavy strikes that would have split Cyrus in half if they connected. But Cyrus was faster, smaller. He dodged, ducked, blocked when he had to. Survived. First minute passed. Cyrus was still alive. Second minute, still alive. Third minute, Kovac started to frown. Stop running, coward, fight. I am fighting, Cyrus said. Dodged another strike. Just not the way you want. Fourth minute. Fifth. Cyrus was getting tired, his arms burned from blocking, his legs screamed from dodging. But Kovac was getting frustrated, just like Thera predicted. His strikes got wilder, less controlled. Sixth minute. Kovac overextended. Cyrus saw it, saw the opening, did exactly what Korvan taught him. Stepped inside the swing, drove his pommel into Kovac's solar plexus. Not a killing blow, but painful, breathtaking. Kovac stumbled back, gasping. Cyrus pressed the advantage, strike to the knee, exactly where Thera showed him, where joints were vulnerable. Kovac's leg buckled. He fell to one knee. Cyrus's sword was at his throat. The clearing went silent. Yield, Cyrus said. His voice was cold. Yield or I end this. Kovac's eyes burned with hatred. You think you've won, kill me, and Bounty Guild sends 10 more. 20 more. They never stop hunting her. Then yield and we negotiate different terms. What terms? Cyrus was breathing hard. Blood dripped from a cut on his cheek he didn't remember getting. You drop the recovery claim. Forever. You leave Thera alone. You never come near her, me, or anyone we love ever again. And in return, I don't kill you here. Don't take your life. Don't make sure every slaver in the South knows you lost to a merchant in single combat. Kovac's jaw clenched. His pride warred with his survival instinct. Survival won. I yield, he said through gritted teeth. Judgment goes to you. The magistrate stepped forward. Terms? Recovery claim is dropped permanently. Kovac agrees never to pursue Thera again. This judgment is binding under treaty law. Agreed, the magistrate said. Scribe record the judgment. It was over. Cyrus lowered his sword. His hands were shaking, all the adrenaline draining out at once. Kovac stood slowly, limped away without looking back. The tooth necklace swaying with each step. A man defeated but alive. Thera was running across the clearing before anyone could stop her. She crashed into Cyrus hard enough to knock him down. They fell together. She was crying, laughing, saying things in Orcish he didn't understand. You won, she said finally in common. You stupid, brave, impossible human. You won. We won, Cyrus corrected, wincing as he tried to sit up. Everything hurt. You trained in me. Korvan trained me. Kessa believed in me. We won together. Korvan arrived, pulled both of them into a crushing hug. Brother now, he said to Cyrus, you fight for sister. You bleed for family. You are Korthak. You are blood even though not blood. You understand. I understand, Cyrus said. They stood together in the clearing. 3 people who'd found each other against impossible odds. Who'd built something that defied laws and prejudices in centuries of hate. The journey back to Iron Peak took 3 days. Cyrus could barely walk the first day. Every muscle screamed. Thera and Korvan supported him between them. But by the 3rd day, he was walking on his own. Sore, battered, but victorious. The newcomer house threw a celebration when they returned. Not because Cyrus had won a fight, but because one of their own was finally truly permanently free. Kessa made a speech about courage and choosing difficult paths. Someone played music. Children danced. Adults drank and laughed and celebrated the idea that sometimes against all odds, the good ending happens. Late that night, Cyrus and Thera sat on their usual spot on the roof. She held his hand, the one that had held the sword, that had fought for her freedom. I have a question, she said. Okay. When we are old, when we tell this story to grandchildren, what do we say? How do we explain this? Cyrus thought about it. We tell them the truth, that we met in the worst way possible. In a slave market where I had power and you had none. That I made a choice, not a heroic choice, just a choice to see you as a person instead of property. And then we made more choices, every day. Choices to stay, choices to fight, choices to build something better than what the world told us was possible. Is good story, Thera said. But how does it end? It doesn't end, Cyrus said. It just keeps going. We keep choosing each other, keep building, keep proving that love is stronger than law, that people are more important than property, That freedom is worth fighting for. He looked at her. How does that sound? Sounds perfect, Thera said. She kissed him, gentle this time, not desperate or afraid or urgent, just present, just them. When they pulled apart, she touched the iron star around his neck. We build training hall, she said, and trade cooperative, and home. We build life that is ours, not defined by past, not limited by what we were, only by what we choose to be. Together, Cyrus asked. Together, Thera confirmed. 2 years later, the training hall was complete. The Iron Peak Combat Academy, they called it, run by Thera Ashenblade and her brother Corvin, teaching young orcs and humans alike. Not just combat, but confidence, self-defense, the kind of skills that meant people didn't end up in cages. The Fair Trade Cooperative flourished. Cyrus established routes throughout the South, connections with honest merchants, proving that trade could be fair, that orcs weren't savages to be cheated, but partners to be respected. And Cyrus and Thera built a home, not grand, just a small house near the newcomer house. 2 rooms, a garden, a workshop where Thera taught metalworking to students. It was enough, more than enough. Mira visited once, traveled all the way from Vermilion Port with sourdough starter that had been asking about them. You did good, boy, she said, looking at everything they'd built. Both of you changed the world a little bit. That's all anyone can do. We're trying, Cyrus said. Don't just try, keep doing. Mira handed him a fresh loaf of bread. World needs more people willing to see past what they're told to see, willing to choose hard right over easy wrong. You two are proof it's possible. She left the next day, but the bread lasted a week, and the message lasted forever. 3 years after leaving Vermilion Port on a sunny afternoon in spring, Thera and Cyrus stood together outside the newcomer house. A young orc woman had just arrived, fresh from southern territories, escaped from slavery, shaking and uncertain, and clearly waiting for the next bad thing to happen. Kessa was talking to her, gentle, patient, explaining that she was safe now, that this was real, that freedom wasn't a trick. The young woman didn't believe it. Cyrus could see it in her eyes, the same eyes Thera had had, empty but burning, broken but fighting. Thera walked over, knelt down so she was eye level with the young woman. I know what you think, and Thera said in Orcish, then common. You think this is dream. Think you wake up back in cage. Think freedom cannot be real because you have never known it. How do you know? The young woman whispered. Thera held up her wrist, showed the bracelet. Because 7 years ago I was you, broken, scared, waiting for nightmare to continue. But I met someone who chose to see me, who chose to help, who chose to believe I was worth saving. She gestured to Cyrus. This is Cyrus. He bought my freedom when he could not afford it, fought for me when he should not have won, loved me when world said we could not love. She touched the young woman's shoulder. You are safe here. You are free here. You are person here, and we help you remember that, however long it takes. The young woman started crying, not the broken crying of despair, but the crying of hope finally breaking through. Thera held her. Let her cry, remembered what it felt like. Cyrus watched. Remembered the slave market 7 years ago. Remembered making a choice that changed 2 lives. No more than 2 lives, because Thera was changing this young woman's life. And she would change others, and they would change others. Ripples spreading outward from one stupid, impossible, necessary choice. That night, lying in bed, Thera said, thank you. For what, Cyrus asked. For seeing me in that cage, for choosing hard path, for fighting when you should not have fought, for loving me when world said you should not love. You don't have to thank me for that. I know, but I want to. She turned to face him. In my clan, we believe that some people are meant to find each other, across distance, across difference, across everything that should keep them apart. We call it Thakmor, soul finding. Is that what we are? Yes, you found my soul when I thought it was lost. I found yours when you thought you had none. We are Thakmor, and that, she smiled, that is rarest thing in world. I love you, Cyrus said. I know. I love you too. Always have. Since moment you gave me key to room. Since moment you saw me as person instead of property. Since moment You chose me over everything else. They held each other as night deepened. Two people who'd found each other in the worst place possible and built something beautiful anyway. Outside the city of Iron Peaks settled into evening rhythms, lights in windows, families eating dinner, children playing, orcs and humans living together in peace that shouldn't be possible but was. And in a small house near the newcomer house, an iron bracelet gleamed on a wrist that was finally truly permanently free. The story didn't end there. Stories like this never really end. They just keep going, keep building, keep proving that change is possible. But if you ask Cyrus or Thera when their story truly began, they'd tell you the same thing. It began in a slave market that smelled like fear and desperation. It began when a merchant made a choice. It began when an orc woman remembered how to fight. It began when someone decided that cages were unacceptable. That property should be people. That freedom was worth everything. And that beginning, that single, stupid, impossible choice echoed forward through years and lives and generations, proving that sometimes the most expensive thing you can buy isn't gold or power or safety. Sometimes the most expensive thing you can buy is the courage to see people where the world tells you to see monsters. And sometimes, just sometimes, that courage changes everything.